taking an aggressive stance against North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs alongside South Korea's brand new president, Moon Jae-in. In the backdrop of today's meeting, China's president condemning the United States' latest $1.4 billion arms deal with Taiwan. Joining me now is Kelly Magsamen, former Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Asian and Pacific Security Affairs under President Barack Obama, and Michael Allen, who served on the National Security Council under President George W. Bush. Great to see both of you. I always feel a little better when we're talking about North Korea to have you both there. Kelly, let me start with you. It is important for Americans to understand that when we see the President of the United States standing by the President of South Korea, where there are 23,500 U.S. troops, a strategic ally, missile batteries, while they both don't like North Korea and what they're doing, their aims are a little bit different, or the way in which they wish to get to those aims is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think a couple of observations. I think today the most important goal for both President Trump and President Moon was to build a relationship. I mean, they're somewhat of an odd couple on the world stage. Both of them share the same goal, of course, of denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, but come at it from very different approaches. Of course, President Moon takes a much more progressive approach in terms of, on engaging the North Koreans, and President Trump and his administration has decided to pursue a much more coercive approach. So today, I think the most important task for both leaders was to get on the same page on North Korea's strategy.
Michael, oh, sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think the jury's still out about whether or not they are on the same page.
Yeah.
But certainly that is something that they both had in mind today.
Fair enough, Michael. Let me talk business. I want to show our viewers the trade deficit, the amount that America buys from South Korea that's different from what we sell it. In 2011, it was $13.2 billion. It's now up to $27.7 billion. And when asked about South Korea in the press briefing, here's what Sarah Huckabee Sanders had to say about it.
On Korea, look, the president's made clear throughout the campaign and again during now, he's looking for the best deal possible for American workers, specifically focused on reciprocal trade, and that is the primary focus of the conversations that he's had.
So, Michael, the reason this is relevant is because Donald Trump took the same approach with Moon Jae-in that he takes with everybody, including the Canadians, that where every time I talk to any world leader, I'm going to try and negotiate the best deal for Americans possible. Is it weird mixing this trade negotiation discussion with the strategic military discussion? Is it coercion of sorts to sort of say to President Moon, if we don't fix this trade deficit thing, maybe you don't have American support for everything you're trying to do with North Korea?
I don't think so. I think President Trump's made clear that the North Korean issue is an issue whose time has come. We can't ignore it anymore. And we have a sophisticated relationship with the South Koreans, as we do with many countries, and we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think we can pursue our economic interests. Now, I'm not sure I agree with President Trump that the trade deficit is the best indicator of our economic relationship with them, but I think the relationship can survive and thrive by having security issues in one lane, and those are clearly preeminent, and economic issues in another lane.
Okay, Kelly, let me ask you this. I've always, I think I ask you this every time I see you. A lot of Americans think that China is our best solution to North Korea. Clearly, President Trump expressing some dissatisfaction with that relationship. We've just imposed sanctions on a Chinese bank that does business with North Korea and have announced an arms deal with Taiwan. The Chinese are furious about this. Are we doing the right thing with China or the wrong thing?
I actually think we're doing the right thing, and we've been holding secondary sanctions in abeyance on the Chinese for quite some time, even at the end of the Obama administration. I think Trump is clearly making a pivot on China, and I think this is the beginning of the pivot, and it happens to be on North Korea in this case, but I also think the pivot is coming on trade in general with the Chinese. I was struck today, frankly, that President Trump used the cabinet room meeting with President Moon to sort of publicly dress him down on the trade imbalances, and he let Secretary Wilbur Ross kind of go through all the data. I mean, the one thing with the South Koreans is you don't want to try to embarrass the president in public. I think it's one thing to want to talk about a trade imbalance and try to correct whatever he wants to correct on the U.S.-Korea trade agreement, but to do it in public, I think, was the wrong approach.
Kelly Maximum, good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Michael Allen as well. Thanks to both of you on the topic of North Korea. We'll be covering it a lot more.